Okay, welcome back to all my subscribers who are going to watch this video, and then hello to anyone who isn't subscribed but is watching this video currently. Um, I guess that this is part two of my sort of vlog type series that is going to be, I guess, following the progress of the play that I'm currently writing, titled Love is a Stranger. Um, but then at the same time, it's not only going to be me writing the show and letting you guys listen to me while I type out these ridiculously long paragraphs of text, but it's also a way for me to vent to you guys about my life, I guess. The last video um, did pretty well, all things considered, especially and only in its first day or two. Gained 2 new subscribers from it, so it's all pretty exciting for me. But yeah, so in this one, I'm going to be working on interlude number 2, which is where I tell the second part about my first girlfriend and I, and about why I think that our relationship failed. Obviously, I'll be keeping any names and more personal stuff hidden. Before I start, I guess I'll give you guys a checkup on me, for this 20-minute rant that I'm about to go on. Maybe it's not a rant, but just a deep existential talk. I woke up this morning. It is currently 3:24 a.m. when I'm recording this because I didn't get off work until 12:37 exactly. And I came back to my apartment. My friends and I were really excited we were going to play Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is probably my favorite game ever. One of my friends hasn't beaten the game yet. And so we're going to play, me, him, and another friend who I've already beaten the game with are all going to play the game together, play it through. I've already beaten the game 4 times. This will be my 5th time, surprisingly enough. I have, even though I've beaten the game 4 times, twice was with Zane Flint, the operative. I have not beaten the game's flak yet, so that's what this next run is going to be about. Yeah, wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. No. So I woke up and I laid in bed till 1 o'clock, which I never do. I just wasn't really wanting to get out of bed. It's one of those things where they say that you're more down and sad about things when you sleep more during the day. And I don't know if that's what's happening with me right now, but it's one of those things where I can say that I'm depressed in general, or maybe I can say I'm depressed about this certain specific topic, but then I go to work and I hear my coworkers talk about how they're depressed, and it's getting to the point where I'm thinking, is it becoming like a popular thing to just say that you're depressed and not mean it? Because I don't think that I'm depressed in general. I think I'm very depressed and lonely and saddened by the state that my love life is in. But, my relationship with my friends is all pretty great. One of my friends got married about a week or 2 ago. That was a great event. We all cried for him when he walked down the aisle with his wife and then again with his mom. My relationship with my family is really good, I think. I talk about it in the play, but said whenever something bad happens to me or I need advice, my mom is always one of the first people that I call, and we argue, but it's usually out of love. I try, as I get older, I'm getting better at talking to my dad, because my dad's a man's man. He works really hard in the hot heat and the weather, and he comes home and all he wants to do is watch TV, and it's kind of funny, honestly. My dad cares about 2 things. Okay, not 2 things. My dad. My dad doesn't care about a lot, but he does care about family, football, and NASCAR, and that's all that. And so, yeah, as I'm getting older, I'm getting better at talking to my dad. This might surprise you. When I was young, I was a very awkward kid, and God, it wasn't even until after my first girlfriend and I broke up, that I started to see a real change in myself, where I was actually able to talk to women. I've never considered myself to be very good at talking to women at all, in any aspect or any way, shape, or form. And now it's getting to the point where I'm realizing it's this thing where it's a lot easier to talk to somebody when you have no romantic interest in them, which is why I'm always so good at talking to other guys, because I'm not gay or I'm not bisexual. And so it's a lot easier for me to talk to them about those kinds of things, because I don't have any romantic interest in them and they don't have any romantic interest in me. And so, but of course, it's the exact opposite for women, because I'm just a straight white man. And so I see a pretty girl and I want to ask her out and ask her how she's doing, and take her to dinner and do all these nice romantic things, because I think I am a romantic person. But and so yeah, so then I was playing For Honor. It's a fun game, really, really frustrating. But it's like I said, I'm a super, super, super duper not a fan of games that are strictly competitive, because I just don't think that there's any fun in that. And I mean, I guess I get why you might like the game, because there are people who are super competitive and they live and breathe competition, and it's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating, and I don't understand how you could be happy. There was a time when I was really into playing Overwatch, and it was the only game that I've ever played where I willingly tried to play, or where I willingly played the ranked mode instead of just playing the casual mode, because I was friends with a bunch of the guys who were on the Overwatch esports team at my college, and so I was friends with them, and they gave me tips and things like that, and I had a minor interest to try and be good at the game. And then I remember I watched like a bunch of videos on, like, how to play this character, and tips and tricks on minor things on how to be better at other stuff like that. And then I remember watching a video where this guy described all the ranks from bronze all the way up to Grandmaster, and he got to Grandmaster, and he basically said that when you're at Grandmaster, you've gotten to the point where you devoted your entire life to this game and nothing else matters at that point, and that you're just so depressed because all that you ever get to do is play Overwatch and do nothing else. And I was just like, and then I realized, yeah, that's true. Because, like, the people who are at Grandmaster worked really hard to get to that point, and then they worked really hard to get to that point, but then it's like, well, what's the payoff? Are you on an esports team? Well, that's great, but then I've also heard that the pay of esports players isn't really good, like oh my god, like, and so so I just said I'm not good at shooter games, which is why it's kind of funny with me. I'm really good at For Honor, and I think it's because the game has a melee combat based fighting system, which I think that's really cool, and so I'm more into it, which means I devote myself more. And of all of my friends, I'm the one who's played For Honor the most, but it's not a huge margin, I don't think. But then, like, I play a game with my friends and we get into a match, and I'm always the one who has the most kills or the highest score. Not necessarily the least deaths, but I also always win the most double teams. Of all my friends, I have the highest kill to death ratio. And genuinely, I'm actually kind of good at the game. Or I was. We stopped playing it for about a year and a half. And we've all kind of fallen out of touch, but we've gotten back into it recently. And so I was playing For Honor, but then my friend gets on, and then he was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" So we were gonna, I don't remember exactly. I think we were talking about playing For Honor together, either dueling each other in 1v1s, or going and playing Destiny, because we also play Destiny as well. But then other friend, my other friend who hasn't beaten Borderlands yet, he appears out of nowhere. And the thing about him is that his Discord will say that he is on, and that is an absolute lie. Because I'll send him like 10 messages and never get a response until a week later, when the point doesn't matter anymore. And so he appears out of nowhere, and we freak out. We're like screaming in chat because we're not expecting him. You know, it's like a solid 2 hours before after work. I'm hoping that he's already got the game installed and that maybe we'll get to play, you know, some of it, because I was so excited to play. I've been so excited to play Borderlands 3 because, like I said, it's my favorite game. Which is why I was uploading so much Borderlands 1 content to the channel, because I was just so in the mood to not just play Borderlands 3, but also to play all of the games, from the first game all the way to the third game. And so I can't wait to show you all that whenever we get to that point. But so, my friend, he joins the chat. I immediately ask him if he's got Borderlands 3 installed, because he has the game. We tried to play it before, but then something came up and we never finished it. I need water. But then, so he doesn't have it installed, but he's got super great internet. Like the game took me a solid 2 hours to install, and the game is nearly 100 gigs, 100 gigabytes in size, which is massive. And so then so I'm like, oh, do you have it installed? He's like, no. I was like, well, get to it. And so then he starts installing the game. We all go play Destiny together because we all three have that. And then we do like a couple of strikes or something like that. We play the game for like 30 minutes to an hour. And I ask him how his download is looking, and he says it's at 90%. And I was like, oh my god. So then he it obviously probably finished. Said I had to go to work I had to be clocked in at work at 5 o'clock. Hold on, I'm gonna go get some water. Right, so he installed the game, I assume, because I mean, obviously he must have. He probably had it installed by the time that we were finished, or probably before I left. Gosh, oh, I'm talking too much. It's making my throat all itchy. Yeah, so we didn't play Borderlands today. We'll definitely do it tomorrow, I'm hoping, assuming that everyone is on, like they should be. I luckily don't work in this morning. I don't work again until Friday. And of course, it's 3:36 now. So I go to work, and I get there. I like my job, honestly. I think it's a super great job. I super love it. It's pretty easy, you know. The only issue I have with my job is that some of my coworkers have big old attitude problems that I have to deal with because, I don't know, they get mad at me about it for some reason. It's a bit beyond me. And so it's, you know, regular normal things, you know. Probably the most exciting thing that happened while I was at work was this woman called on the phone saying that her food order had been dropped off, but she was calling because they she didn't get her 2 medium drinks that she asked for, which is just like, okay, sorry. Sorry. I mean, I know you really expect me to care, but I kind of don't. But then she tells me that she's missing her 2 drinks. I rattle off. I tell her, okay, what you can do at that point is you can drive here to the store and we'll just get your drinks for you, and you know, no harm done. Or 2, I can put you on the phone with my manager and you can talk to her. You can talk to her about a possible refund or a credit or a possible free food item or something similar to that, or we can just completely strike it from your check and give you a refund. Yeah, I already said that. It's just one of those things where I don't understand how you can get so upset about something like that. And she was fairly tame considering some of the customer interactions that I have had in the past. But it's just like, I could obviously tell that she was very frustrated, and she's talking to me on the phone like I'm the reason why she didn't get her drinks, which is just, it's not my fault. Usually whenever we come in, we ask the person, is there any drinks on the order? And they usually tell us yes or no. When the guy showed me the order on his phone, didn't show a drink. And yeah, sorry. So it's entirely possible that the woman could have been trying to scam us, which is just like, I mean, whenever you go to a restaurant of any kind, chances are it's a 1,000% markup on all soda products because it costs almost nothing to make soda and ship soda and do all that other stuff. Which is why which is why, it's probably the reason why Coke, it's probably the reason why Coke and all the other soda companies have so much money, because their profits are so huge. Their profits are just so monstrous. And so that happens. And the actual interaction with the customer wasn't the scary part. It's the fact that I don't like it when my manager gets mad at me for obvious reasons. And so it's just one of those things where I think I'm really, really pretty great at my job, but I always worry about this idea that I'm going to have one bad day where I make too many mistakes, and then, you know, manager going to be like, hey, can we talk? And then I get a write-up or I get fired. And that would suck. And I like my job. I intend to keep my job even after I graduate, while I still attend graduate school. And then, you know, once I have my master's and I go to find a job at a university where I can teach, then I'll quit. then I'll put in my 2 weeks and resign my position. But then it's, you know, so and it was today especially. Today was Game 4 of the NBA Finals, and it was just it was a total madhouse. Not like eating in our dining room wasn't a madhouse. It was the absurd amount of to-go orders that we got, which is just like, it had to have been like probably not a record for a Wednesday night, especially since it's the summertime. You know, college towns are always dead during the summertime usually. So I can't imagine what it'll be like whenever the semester is here. And and so yeah, we were just so busy. And honestly, said I'm a host, and I'm pretty sure that one of our servers sat more people than I did, because I was stuck in the kitchen bagging to-go orders for at least for a solid 6.5 hours out of the 7.5 hours that I worked. It was ridiculous. Wish I could see that chart. How much time I spent in the kitchen versus how much time I spent at the front podium waiting to seat people. It's just, God, it was absurd. And I don't even know either. Like, it's not even like tonight was like an elimination game or a high stakes game. It was just Game 4, and in Milwaukee. I don't know. But it all worked out. You know, I was still able to have a good conversation with my manager. At towards the end of the night, I told her she didn't know that I was writing this play currently. When I told her about that, I told her about how, you know, among my friend group, which is me and then my 3 other close friends, I'm the only person who has anything to do with the arts. Which is funny to think about because I was a physics major when I first came to college, but that was just too much math for me. Not a math person, can't do it, didn't want to do it. And so, yeah, because like I said, my first friend, he's a chemical engineer. My other friend is studying IT, and then my third friend who got married, he's full-time Army. And then, but whenever he gets out, he's probably going to get an IT position someplace as well. And yeah, I'm the only, but it's funny because like, even though I study theater and I'm an arts person and I've got a creative mind and all that other stuff, I can still keep up with them in a conversation like that because I was obsessed with science and those sorts of things all the way up until I first started doing theater back when I was still in high school. Like at the end of high school too. I actually didn't start doing theater until I was a junior in high school. And I actually I asked our theater teacher on a whim because I actually had mythology class with her. She taught one of our mythology classes at my high school. And I asked her if she needed any extra help around the theater, and she made me. It's kind of funny. It just sort of happened. Like I didn't ask for the position. I didn't express any interest toward it. She just up and oh yes. She just up and made me the head of all of our technical theater. So I was the one up in the sound booth, hitting all the switches and moving all the dials and things like that on the headset, telling people to go. You know, it's time for you to be on stage. Where are you? Stuff like that, and then, you know, we had our one act competition, and that was a rough time, and it only took one experience for me to decide that I didn't like doing competitive theater. It's just because I don't think that's what it's about. Because theater, I mean, if you think about it from like a Tony Award standpoint, and you know, I guess maybe theater is competitive, but that's just like, in my eyes, that's like a side thing. Like theater's not supposed to be competitive. It's about entertaining an audience, or it's about making art for the sake of making art and nothing else. When you turn it into some sort of game or competition, it becomes novel, and that puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I hate that. And it really upset me when one of my professors says that he thinks that theater is competitive, and I mean, I didn't say anything to him because I don't want to get into an argument with one of my teachers about why I think theater shouldn't be competitive. Because it's not that I'm saying that theater is not competitive. I'm saying that theater shouldn't be competitive. And you can make the argument that competition pushes you to become better, but then, does it though? Does it? I don't think so. Theater's not a sport. Theater's not some kind of thing that you parade around like it's a trophy or something like that. It's more than that, honestly, I think. And so, yeah. I get to my senior year, we get past one act competition, which was a nightmare. Get past one act competition, which is an absolute nightmare. And then we get to my senior musical, which was, I write about it in the show, I write about it in the show, or in the first interlude, about how, because, let's see, when I was a freshman in high school, I was on my high school's baseball team, and that was unquestionably the worst year and probably the worst decision I've ever made in my entire life, because it was just it's probably the biggest reason why I hate all things competitive, because I had never done a sport competitively before then, and that was the time in my life that made me realize that I will never, um, I will never choose anything over fun. I will never choose anything over enjoyment ever again. Because the entire reason why I joined the baseball team in the first place is because I had fun playing baseball. And then I was shown how easy it was for that kind of thing to not be fun and to not be enjoyable. Because it's just like, you go to school. I never thought, when I was younger, the idea of going to baseball practice was exciting to me. It got me giddy. I couldn't stop thinking about how much fun I thought I was going to have. And then I get to my high school baseball team, and it was literally, there were certain days where I just straight up didn't want to go to practice because I didn't want to get yelled at. I didn't want to get told that or screamed at that I wasn't good enough and that I wasn't trying hard enough, with the constant ever-looming fear that I would just get up and kicked off the team, which is still what happened. And so, but looking back on it now, getting kicked off the team was probably a good thing for me, because if that had never happened, then I wouldn't have had a whole year to just live my life and go around and relax, and then I never would have discovered theater, which would never have brought us to this point that we're at right now together. And so, and also, it never would have found me my first girlfriend, more than likely. I guess something else could have happened, and maybe we still would have, but I don't know. But then, or not then, but so, that's a short history lesson as the reason why I hate all things competitive. I like watching competitive sports. I love watching NBA on TV or live in person. I just like basketball in general, but I'm not in it for anything besides fun and enjoyment. And the moment it stops being fun or it stops being enjoyable, I will not want to do it. You will never be able to get me to go and do it ever again. Just don't even try. It's one of the reasons why I love bowling so much. Is because no matter how hard I try, bowling is fun. Because I don't have somebody breathing down my neck telling me that I'm not good enough, and this and that and that and this. And and it's just like, it's one of those things where I didn't have anybody to teach me how to bowl. I just, I watched it on TV one day. I learned that my grandpa was apparently a very good bowler back when he was around my age. And then I just sort of taught myself how. And I'm really good at it, actually. I'm really good at it now. I wasn't very good at it when I first started. And so, yep, but then after I got off work, I came back to my apartment, and it was 12:30. Came back, I hadn't eaten yet, but I had bought food at work that I had intended to eat, and then I ate it, and I was all good. And I laid down in bed, and then it reminded me, about a day or two ago, I finally watched Bo Burnham's Inside, which was his new Netflix special, and I watched it, and I guess I'd been sort of avoiding it, not avoiding it. It was just kind of thing where I just kind of didn't want to watch it. But then I turned it on and watched it all the way through, and it is honestly a masterpiece. Inside by Bo Burnham is a masterpiece. I'm saying it right now, for the record. It's getting to the point where you wonder if he is still a comedian with some of the songs that are in that show, because a lot of the stuff is funny, but then Bo Burnham's entire specialty is tragedy through comedy, or comedy hidden, or tragedy hidden within comedy, because he has so many songs that are where they sound happy, but then you listen to the lyrical content, and it's actually pretty deep, heavy subjects, especially one of the last songs in the show called All Eyes on Me, which is where he opens up to, it's like a sort of fake audience. He's got I guess fake audience noises, or they might not be fake, they could be real. But he opens up to his audience about how 5 years before 5 years before he started making Inside 5 years before he started making Inside, he said he stopped performing live because he was having severe panic attacks on stage, and it's not a very good idea to have panic attacks while you're trying to perform a show, because then you derail the whole show, and it ends abruptly. And so then and then he talks about how he stepped away for those 5 years to try and improve himself mentally, and then he said it worked, and then pandemic happened. And so it was one of those songs where and that's how it is throughout the entire special, is that it's just like it starts out with him being sort of happy regular Bo, and then as the show goes on, it's like we're going down a hill, and the hill itself is a representation of Bo's mental health during the whole during the pandemic, and about him being stuck inside, not being able to go any place or anything like that because of quarantine and all these other things, and about how the isolation did the same thing for him that it did to a lot of people, which is that it just messed with his head in more ways than he could have, in bad ways. He literally there's literally a part in the show where he talks about how he literally says that his mental health is at an all-time low because of what's happened. And it's one of those things where it got me thinking in the song All Eyes on Me, he has a line where he says oh God, what is it? He says, "You say the oceans are rising, like I give a shit. You say the whole world is ending, buddy, it already did." And so I hear that, and I'm super into dramatic, show-stopping monologues and songs and things like that. And that's my favorite kind of theater and artistic work to do, is stuff that makes the audience leave different. Like they came in, they come into the theater feeling one way, and they leave the theater forever changed in hopefully a good way. That's what I think. So this was part 1. Watch out for part 2.